I am Dracula.
Diary again. No sleep now, so I may as well write. I'm too agitated to sleep. We have had such an adventure, such an agonizing experience. I fell asleep as soon as I had closed my diary. Suddenly, I became broad awake and sat up with a horrible sense of fear upon me and some feeling of emptiness around me. The room was dark, so I could not see Lucy's bed. I stole across and felt for her. The bed was empty. I thought she could not be far, as she was only in her nightdress. I ran downstairs and looked in the sitting room. Not there. Then I looked in all other open rooms of the house, with an ever-growing fear chilling my heart. I took a heavy shawl and ran out. The clock was striking 1. I was in the crescent and there was not a soul in sight. I ran along the northern terrace but could see no sign of the white figure which I had expected. At the edge of the west cliff, above the pier, I looked across the harbor to the east cliff in hope or fear, I don't know which, of seeing Lucy in our favorite seat. Whatever my expectation was, it was not disappointed, for there, on our favorite seat, the silver light of the moon struck a half-reclining figure, snowy white. It seemed to me as though something dark stood behind the seat where the white figure shone, and bent over it. What it was, whether man or beast, I could not tell. I did not wait to catch another glance, but flew down the steep steps of the pier along the fish market to the bridge, which was the only way to reach the east cliff.
And my good friend John, let me caution you. You deal with madmen. All men are mad in some way or another. And as much as you deal discreetly with your madmen, so deal with God's madmen too, the rest of the world. You were always a careful student, and your case book was ever more full than the rest. You were the only student then, now you are a master, and I trust that good habits have not failed.
What do you suppose is the matter with her?
She is ghastly, chalkly pale. The red seems to have gone even more in her lips and gums, and the bones of her face stand out prominently. Even her breathing is painful to hear or see. My God, this dreadful. There is no time to be lost. She will die for sheer want of blood. To keep the heart's action as it should be, there may be a deeper root for its cause than we have knowledge of. Of this, I am not sure.
What do you make of the strange red marks on her neck?
I make nothing of it yet.
Her loss of blood appears to be resulting overnight, with no sign of disease.
We are the best nurses of the dear Lucy, both you and I. We will have to watch her through the night and be wary of her symptoms.
How fares my sweet love?
Her dreams are plagued by sleepless terrors, and her blood is lost yet again.
But what of the blood transfusions I have produced?
Nothing, there is no change. We must be careful not to worry Arthur about the love of his life, being so near to the grave. As being so, his father has just recently died, and the grief may be too much for him to bear.
This is evermore the question. Jonathan Harker has a strange brain disease, and Lucy dying from a loss of blood. There is something very peculiar going on, and I'm dying to know what it is.
My love.
My love, come and kiss me.
PJ Plays.
No! If you trust my expertise in the areas of science, medicine, and then some, then you will know that I comprehend this best. Trust me as you have nobly trusted me before.
Oh, okay, doctor. I trust you. I just only want what's best for Lucy.
It may be that she's not the only one that needs protecting from.
Van Helsing is finished. She's dead. So I found this story that's really interesting. And there's been a lot of weird things going on, so I wonder if they're related. Basically, Jonathan Harker, a young solicitor who has recently been out of apprenticeship with Mr. Harris. His mentor travels from Munich to Transylvania in order to conduct business with Count Dracula in regards to buying houses and relocating large boxes. Jonathan has kept a diary of his encounters in hopes that he could share it with his fiancée, Mina. He arrived at a large castle, the castle of Count Dracula, where he is attacked by three women and leaves with a brain fever. During this same time period, Jonathan's fiancée, Mina Murray, exchanges letters with her best friend, Lucy Westenra. Lucy is recently engaged after being asked by three men, Dr. Sayward, Arthur Holmwood, and American Quincy Morris. She accepts Arthur's proposal of marriage. Then Lucy begins sleepwalking and losing blood. Intrigued by Lucy's interesting symptoms, Dr. Sayward calls for his previous instructor, Dr. Abraham Van Helsing. Both Lucy and her mother die, although Arthur's father dies at around the same time. Mina, while with Jonathan, gets married to him and is unaware of Lucy's death until a time later. The doctors, interested further in accounts of a Bloofer lady, find that Lucy has become undead, or a vampire. Arthur and the two doctors track her down and kill her, using a stake, cutting off her head, and stuffing her mouth with garlic, and putting a cross around her neck. The doctors, Arthur, and the Harkers begin to track down Dracula with their diaries and work together. Dracula is led in by Renfield, one of Sayward's mentally insane patients, and Dracula attacks Mina, who begins a slow process into a vampire. The men sterilize the boxes of earth, causing Dracula to be forced to move back to Transylvania, where the group divides and conquers. Van Helsing and Mina kill the three vampires. Jonathan and Quincy get to Dracula as he gets to his castle and stab him with knives. What I'm really scared about is what if there are more out there?
Hashtag not sponsored by National Geographic.
The novel begins in a ruined castle, a traditional Gothic setting, and soon moves the action to Victorian London, where the advancements of modernity are largely responsible for the ease with which the Count preys upon English society. This makes the readers feel more comfortable, as the characters are placed in a seemingly safe setting. The readers are meant to feel close to the characters, as the novel is composed of personal letters and journals to make the reader feel like they know and understand the characters' thoughts and experiences on a deep and personal level. Bram Stoker does this by describing many private thoughts through this format, giving the readers a feeling of viewing something personal. Multiple points of view are given throughout the novel, so that the readers have an insight to the thoughts and feelings of each individual character, also giving the readers a feeling that they are reading something non-fiction, even with the obviously fictional aspects of the novel. The setting allows readers to reflect on the difference between the events which occur in each, and how they reflect on the genre of Gothic horror. Weather in each location within the novel assists in creating a contrast between the Gothic, Transylvanian setting, and exemplifies the difference between Eastern and Western Europe, particularly as it depicts the East as being a mysterious setting, such as Dracula's castle, and the English manor and cities of the West serving a considerably less unknown setting. The Gothic appearance of the unknown eastern part of Europe is expressed through Stoker's use of the wild Transylvanian landscape, gloomy buildings, hidden rooms, an enigmatic figure with supernatural powers, and unnatural acts of nature, all appearing consistently through the story.
I have found that madness seems to be playing an enormous role as a theme in our current situation. For you tell not your madmen what do you nor why you do it. You tell them not what you think, so you shall keep knowledge in its place where it may rest, where it may gather its kind around it and breed.
Why, yes, for without madness, we would know not the ways of the supernatural and the ideas of the parts of the world which we understand not. I have found the ambience of that is known is unknown creates a terrible pain of fear of sleep. Sleeplessness plagues me as it plagued Lucy, and it has plagued my dear Jonathan while at the Count's home. Therefore, I feel that the theme of sleeplessness perhaps plays a bigger role in my life than madness.
I feel it important in regard to the Count to bring up the theme of timelessness, as he, alongside many things in regards to him, are timeless. The old centuries had, and have, powers of their own which mere modernity cannot kill.
In general, time seems to play a very big role as a theme. They say that people who are near death die generally at the change to the dawn or at the turn of the tide.
My darling Mina, you are the most accurate representation of the theme of the devotion that has appeared over these horrid days. Devotion is so rare, and we are so grateful to those who show it, and unasked to those we love.
Are you quite sure? I suppose so, the embodied theme of not knowing, as there are many things that are not understood about our lives of the right now, and I more so than ever others have been left in the dark. I distrusted myself, Doctor. You don't know what it is to doubt everything, even yourself.
My dear, we all doubt ourselves. It is very hard to decipher what is real and what is a nightmare, particularly when the horrible nightmares are composed of things we have deemed impossible to be real, but yet they are. For another theme that I have seen in my experience, and is that everything obeys nature's laws. Count Dracula can do so many fantastically horrible things, but yet he is even more prisoner than the slave of the gallery, than the madman in his cell. He cannot go where he lists. He who is not of nature has yet to obey some of nature's laws.
This is true, even though Dracula also accurately depicts the theme of foreignness, or otherness. His Transylvanian blood makes them all the more different and thus more terrifying to us.
I like to think that tradition and superstition are two things that contradict each other more so throughout our time. Science, the traditional and unknown and known, is superior to superstition in the respect that we should triumph in the end.
But Master, do not forget that the theme of science triumph isn't all that accurate. Technology has its limitations, as the blood transfusions did not save Lucy, bless her heart, nor did our communication through telegrams and letters reach one another in time.
Hey guys, there's been some stuff going on about vampires and things, spooky things. There's this guy, Abraham Stoker. His friends call him Bram. He was very interested in theater, wrote many mythological stories, some of which including vampires. He was an Irish writer, graduated from a very prestigious university. We'll talk about that later. These ideas of his about mythology and whatnot have led him to create his book, Dracula. Throughout most of his adult life, he wrote letters to many people in the theater. And that's very similar to the way that the book is formatted. It's just letters. Throughout most of his life, he was bedridden with an unknown illness, which can explain the diseases of Lucy, one of the characters in his book. Not only did this guy write the book Dracula, but he was also friends with Henry Irving, who was an actor in Shakespeare's Hamlet. This means that many allusions were made to Hamlet in his book Dracula. He was a very highly intelligent man, not also in writing but in mathematics. His degree in mathematics from the Trinity College from the University of Dublin made him very skilled in mathematics. Clearly, he was no idiot. He knows his stuff. Hopefully this can help us with understanding the book. We're going in through the forest, and we're kind of hunting vampires and stuff, and what's this a note? Lucy first acknowledges the frailty of women in writing a letter to Mina. She remarks that, I suppose that we women are such cowards that we think a man will save us from our fears, and we marry him. Lucy realizes the issues involved with how the majority of women have been taught to think, and she knows what she would do if she were a man. Mina later writes in her journal about the concept of new women, that some of the new women writers will someday start an idea that men and women should be allowed to see each other asleep before proposing or accepting. But I suppose that new woman won't condescend in future to accept. She will do the proposing herself, and a nice job she will make of it too. Mina believes that women will be able to propose to men like men, and may even do it better. So the note we found was really kind of interesting. It's kind of a mystery who put it there and what it really means, and I think we got another note. Upon the deaths, Dr. Seward tries to comfort Arthur, but because of the limitations of society, he is unable to do much. Dr. Seward comforted Arthur as well as he could. In such cases, men do not need much expression. When reflecting on the operation with Van Helsing, Seward comments on the display of hysterics by Arthur. He states that men and women are so different in manifestations of nervous strength or weakness. These two instances demonstrate the rigidity of the social norm between the emotions displayed by men and women, but Mina feels that an outpouring of emotions by a man is justified when those emotions are expressed to a woman for a woman. Mina is the main advocate for equality.
The way that the story unfolds to the reader is similar to the way the Bram Stoker's life played out. The way the story is told through the reader is through letters. When working at Lyceum Theater, he wrote a vast number of letters, similarities that are seen throughout the psychoanalytic lens. Lucy's illness was inspired by the crippling sickness that Bram Stoker experienced throughout his life. His early study of mythical lore and vampires led up to his creation of Dracula characters and nature of vampires throughout the novel. Now die.
So who's next on your appointment schedule?
Oh, Mina Harker.
Oh, the wife of Jonathan Harker?
Mm-hmm.
From what I've heard, she is a nice lady, loving and humble. And from what I've also heard, that she puts others first before herself.
Well, that might be true, but it seems as if she's been having some problems.
Oh, with what?
I'm not sure, but I'll find out. Okay. So, what seems to be the problem, Mina?
It's not one problem, doctor. It's several. My husband went on a business trip not too long ago to Transylvania, and he just suddenly disappeared. I got news just recently that he was in the hospital, and I rushed to see him.
Well, did you ever find out what happened to him?
Yes, but what happened to him has to do with so many other people. I mean, my good friend Lucy, who has been sleepwalking, I've been chasing after her night after night, and it wasn't until I was with Jonathan taking care of him that I got informed that Lucy had passed away.
Well, what does Lucy's death have to do with Jonathan's disappearance?
Well, really, there's one person that brings this whole thing together. He is the greatest conflict of all, Dracula.
Well, what did you do?
It wasn't necessarily what I did, but what others have helped me to do. Others such as Quincy Morris and, of course, Jonathan. I tagged along with them to defeat the Count, but didn't know much because I was under the Count's spell.
Well, besides those men saving you and defeating evil, how else are they significant? Don't get me wrong. What they did was incredible, but how they all come to the decision that Dracula is such a problem and needs to be stopped.
Well, it's all a bit of a love square, actually, because of Quincy, Seward, and Arthur. They all loved Lucy. Lucy obviously ended up with Arthur, but despite the discomfort between the men, they all banded together to defeat Dracula for the greater good. This shows that people have kindness in their hearts.
You are a clever man, John. You reason well and your wit is bold, but you are too prejudiced. You do not let your eyes see nor your ears hear, and that which is outside of your daily life is not of account to you. It is the fault of our science that it wants to explain all, and if it explain not, then it says there is nothing to explain.
I suppose so. What are you going to do?
I'm going to expose her for who she really is.
Are you having a laugh, mate?
She's dying. Overnight she is dying. She is dying. Overnight.
If you feel like showing some professionalism at any point, feel free to do so.
She is dying.
Okay.
Overnight she has lost more blood.
My love.
Thanks for that. 0 takes down. Several more to go. Who wants to make PJ more uncomfortable?
My love.
Come here and kiss me.
Anytime now.
Awkward. You had one job.
Or perhaps it can.
I screwed up.
Yes, you did. Pay attention. When you are almost to the minimum amount of words for your essay,
Letters to many, many, many people in the theater.
stop stalling and get to the point.
And that's very similar to the way that the book is formatted. It's just letters, letters, letters.
Right.